Well, hello, survivors, and welcome to our Friday night SOS RSG stream. Thank you guys for all tuning in. I am T McVenom, one of your hosts. We also are joined by our panel, Delete. Say hi.
Howdy.
Daedric. Cool wave. He's got the cool wave. And then also Panama Jack, aka Finity, is here now. Finity is
Aloha.
Oh my goodness. Finity is, as you guys, a lot of you may know him, Finity is an RSG streamer, but he's also recently taken up SOS and he's doing hella well in it. So I asked him to come on and join us to be maybe some of our free-to-play perspective and our new player perspective. He brings a lot to it, so he's going to be joining us every time we can get him, hopefully. But thank you for joining, Finn. Tonight we had, I know that there's update, there's new update and we all want to talk about it. I understand we're going to talk about it later, but what we really initially wanted to do the stream on was state migration, because that's something we all really want is state migration versus merge, or a possibility of both, or figuring out what we would want, because it's obvious that the developers are listening. They're trying to implement some things. Implementation might be a little tricky for them right now. We've obviously noticed that, but we want to get our ideas out very concisely and thoroughly so that what we're suggesting makes sense to them from both angles, player and also as a developer. So that's what we're going to talk about on the stream for the first part of the stream. Then we'll get to some update talk. I know that there's a lot of ranting going on, and we obviously are very ranty about it too, but we want to end it on a high note of ways that we think that they can improve it. So that's the agenda for tonight. First, I want to start out with a huge thank you and shout out to the people that are already in chat. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you. Deadpool Kyle, Danger, Matt Ivory, Moses, Nathan H, Tits of Fury, Leprechaun, Ruiz, let's see, Zenith, Colossus, Max Tuttle, Slick, Gino, ASDF. Name always cracks me up. And Bean, nice to have you. I think that's it. Oh, Ranger, there we go, Ranger. Nice to see you. Yeah, so I think that's, oh, and Jeremy, 123. Nice to see you, Jeremy. So we appreciate all you guys that are early joiners. I have a code for you that I want to give out in the beginning of the stream here, just for you to rush over and go get it. Our special code for tonight is delete. And yeah, our code for tonight is delete. And it's 1,000 biocaps and 2 advanced searches. So you guys,
it's 2 E's, by the way. It's 2 E's.
2 E's. Absolutely. Better get that right. 2 E's and delete. So you guys go redeem those. Those are only for the stream. We are asking that nobody post these in any of your Discord channels or anything like that. We're really trying to get these reserved just for the people that are joining, you guys. We want you to have the advantage because you are here supporting the channel, supporting the game, and we appreciate all of your support. So there's your code for tonight. I will post those later at the end of the stream, just for those that are late joiners that didn't get into the beginning of the stream. We have a second code at the end as well. So I'll post both of those later. Okay. So mechanics, I think we got most of our mechanics down. If you have a question, we'll try to get to that at the end of the stream. This will probably be a pretty long stream for us because we got so much to talk about. But so I'm not even going to try to stick to a 2-hour time. I'm not even going to do it. But if you have a question, please type in the word question with your question following it so that I can get Nightbot to pick that up. Okay, so let's start off. Daedric, do you want to start off? Because you had the most articulate concept with the state migration, I feel like.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been having the conversation for quite a while. Been using the Discord to really, just similar to last week's stream, getting ideas and suggestions to really get a proposal together. So for everyone viewing, the intention is not only for the developers to watch this stream and hear the feedback, but for us to take the feedback in writing and submit ideas of what something like this would look like. The big conversation right now is there is a big difference between migration and merge. They are two different concepts. So for everyone to have an idea of what they are, a merge is when you physically combine servers together. So you will actually remove a server and move, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 2 servers into one. Migration is where you have the ability to essentially purchase a pass to leave your server or state and enter a new server. So the topic right now is what would be feasible for the developers given the size, what we've seen so far, what they have the capacity to do. In my opinion, I believe a migration would be the most feasible concept for this game, given the capacity of what the developers have the ability to do and the tools at their disposal. Mergers are possible in games, but they're very expensive. It requires a lot of behind the scenes work, and there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong with a merger, and that can happen with a migration as well, but you're not going to see as many errors in a migration compared to a merge. The concept I would like to see is the developers give players the opportunity to purchase a pass in order to migrate into a new state. They will have to put a cap on states. So that's one of the pieces that came up. Obviously, you can only have a certain amount of players in a state. And there's debt accounts and things like that. So one of the responsibilities on the developer side is to decide what the cap would be based off of what their normal population is when they open a state, because they open servers all the time. So they have to have a cap. Once they hit a cap, they open a new server. They hit the cap, they open a new server. So they'd have to decide what the cap would be. How expensive is the migration pass going to cost? Are we going to be paying in bio caps? Are we going to be paying in physical cash? What does that look like? Is it a combination of both? And the other piece is how does that work for alliances in terms of game mechanics? So the piece tying that in is we want the ability to move into the new game system. So states are not migrating into old states. We are now going into the new game concept. So where now alliances have the abilities, the server that Finn and Venom are playing in right now, 359,
Delete
where you're actually building territory across a map. Like the whole game concept is different. So we'd want that whole migration concept to be in the new state of survival. I'm going to put that in quotations. So moving over to the new game concept. What does that mean for free to play in old states? There is a give and take here. So with any game, anytime you have a concept of merger migration, you are taking a risk. From a Kings Group perspective, you will lose players. If everybody decides to leave a state and a free to play is not willing to pay for the migration pass and their state is dead, that's just the reality of the situation. And the fact that the company has created 2 different games, they've already done that. So, in my eyes, I don't see it being any more of a risk because they already have 2 different game concepts. What they're doing now is they're promoting people to purchase a pass. So they're making revenue on their passes, but they're promoting people to move to the new game. So for someone like me or dolphin spenders or whatever you want to call them, you're promoting us to continue to spend, because you're not saying, hey, Daedric, I want you to leave your account in state 42, start brand new in 360, and sorry, that's just how it's going to be. Whereas, hey, if you pay us $69.99, we're going to let you come into this new state. You have your account. The only thing you have to do now is, unfortunately, from an alliance technology perspective, you're going to have to start over, which is I'm okay with. If I get to take my account, my settlement, and move it over, I'm perfectly fine with starting over in an alliance and that whole technology concept and territory and whatever. But you're giving people an opportunity to make that choice, and you're still driving revenue as a company. You're simply moving your clientele into a different category. This is going to take a lot of work. Are they working on it right now? I don't know. I just know that there's a lot of conversation on it. We've been discussing it for a while. And it is a feasible concept, but it's something they need to do within the next quarter. And by quarter, I mean 3-4 months, because older states are turning into what we call graveyard states, where yes, you have top 10 alliances and, maybe 1,000 active players. 1,000 active players is not a lot in a server. You're looking between, 5,000, 10,000 active players. When you're looking at the population of some of these servers they're opening, we're talking, I saw one the other day, 20,000 in a new state. It's a lot of it. That's a lot of accounts in one map, right? So
Yeah.
if you have the ability to do that, clearly there needs to be a shift, and there needs to be a shift soon. We talked about the business plan as a company. Let's say Kings Group only plans on being up for 4 years. If you can make more money and have a game running for an additional 4, why not adjust your plan and go, hey, we can operate for, let's extend it another 2 years. We can operate for 6 years instead of 4, because we're making such great strides as a company and giving players all these new opportunities, and they're providing community. It's a symbiotic relationship at the end of the day.
Okay, so I've been taking notes because I didn't want to interrupt you, but there's like several questions that we could talk about with this. So first question is how to balance, if we are saying that there's an option for a bigger person like Daedric to jump into a state. Number one, what would be the cap size that we would say you couldn't go over this? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I really want us to give them a laid out suggestion, not just vague ideas, but say, okay, our suggestion would be nothing over state 200 or 250, or what is the new state where they changed the alliance or the game setup? What was that one? Does anybody know what that state was? Was like 250s or something?
Yeah, 240 and higher, I think.
Yeah, so maybe I think we're now close to 400 states now. Is that what we're at? So maybe a cap of nothing. You can't jump into anything over 300, or maybe even a cap by battle power. So like saying a state that has a collective battle power less than this, you can't jump into. Is that even possible to do like a collective battle power per state?
You can absolutely set restrictions. So to answer your question, there's 3 things I would look at. Number one is I wouldn't base it off the battle power of the state. I'd base it off the battle power of the individual. So if I was wanting to go into, let's say state 300, the second piece to that argument would be, how old is the state? So you're actually now comparing the power of the person and the age of the state they're wanting to go into. So what Kings Group would have to do, because it's all part of the programming, is if I'm clicking a button because I want to go in state 300, I'm going to get an error message saying, sorry, state too young, or battle power too high, does not meet requirements. They actually have to categorize where I fall in, and that goes for every individual player. But if they do a blanket categorization based on age, so if you're, let's say, 200 plus million battle power, you can only go to states of this age category.
Gotcha. I got you now.
Right.
You mean like have a parameter per your battle power?
Yes.
If you're over this, then you have this parameter of what you can fit into as far as state-wise. You can't go over this. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
The expectation for me, let's say 240 is the first, because I don't know the exact state, let's say 240 is the first state in that lineup. I have the ability to go from 240 to 250 because my battle power is nearly 400 million, and I've been playing the game for nearly a year. So I have a significant advantage. Even if I go to 240, I still have a significant advantage over the people in 240, but it's the first state in the lineup. So there is a bit of a disadvantage in terms of when they started the new game concept. But again, if we're talking game migration, you're going to have some disadvantages anyway at the end of the day.
What if they did like a penalty for jumping into, like, let's say you could jump into some of the earlier ones that you're still relatively matched, but if you wanted to jump into a higher one, you had a settlement penalty hit or something. where
Yeah.
they set you back, where you had to, start back at 28, or you know what I'm saying, like some kind of penalty hit saying, look, you're too strong, so this is the sacrifice if you choose to make this jump.
They'd have to put, similar to how a governor can give a debuff when you get,
Yeah.
What the company cannot do, like they legally cannot do, is reduce content of your account. So
Right.
King's Group cannot take my account and say you're now a level 28.
Yeah.
Because I've paid for level 33. So you can't reduce the content of my account because you're actually stealing from me.
But they can put a debuff penalty based on your decision to jump for like a period of time.
Yeah, they could put a flare on my settlement and go, you cannot, you have the inability to hit an enemy settlement for a month, like 30 days or 14 days or something like that, where I can still participate in, Capital Clash or Fortresses, but I don't have the ability to actually hit settlements. But the company legally cannot take content away from your account for any reason other than, you cheated or, hacked or whatever the case may be. But, the penalty would have to be based on taking away a certain game mechanic from you versus physical content from you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think in terms of if I was trying to just map this out on a table, like how would we do that as far as that? The cap, I think, is, like you said, is probably the quickest thing, is to like have a set parameter of where you can and can't jump to.
I think it would have to be, you would almost have to migrate together. It'd almost have to be like a week buying period, of everyone that wanted to buy or merge or like leave their state. And then they would be able to kind of pool together all the people that bought those packs. So this way it would kind of, it would almost like anyone that wanted to leave was almost going to join the same state. So this way, if Daedric's 400 million, they would also look for another 400 million player to basically match that up, to basically make it to where, it was kind of evened out. And everyone that was there was kind of like, okay, but at least we have an opportunity now to, play with this. Or, depending on how many people they get, you would almost look at, just like, how to create a new state out of everyone that was looking to move. Because that would be something as well, because there's probably going to be right now, if it's 240, right, and a lot of people want to play the new game, that is a lot of people from 240 down that would probably buy this pack in an instant.
You mean make a new state altogether for jumpers only?
Yeah, I think that would probably be one of the fairer ways to do it. I doubt whole alliances would want to jump, or something like that. Well, because it brings the whole thing too. Do you like just take your whole alliance somewhere?
Well, that's my biggest, like, so I'm trying to look at this as what are the super cons, and Daedric mentioned it, like you're going to have some, you're going to have some dead states after a bunch of people jump. My concern would be that a state just, somebody else has lost their investment because they can't purchase a ticket, because I'm assuming these tickets are going to be a high priced item. They're going to be over. You don't think so, Daedric?
No. And the reason why, so let's look at it. Let's actually look at numbers. So there's another game that did migration. They opened it like 8 months ago. Rise of Kingdoms, the one I've been talking about a lot in the streams. And they did state migration. And it was cheap. Like I think it was $50. But if you're looking at the cap of the servers, and let's just take 1,000 people, you're making 50 grand off of one server, right? Yeah. So let's look at it from cost and profit. I'm King's Group. I have the ability to make 50 grand off of a server, and that, there's a lot of variables to that. That could be completely skewed. You might only get 20 grand out of one server. You might get 70 out of another. But if you're looking at the cost going into making this happen and your return, you're making revenue off of the people paying, and there's going to be a lot of people paying. Let me tell you that right now. This is a very profitable move for King's Group. You're promoting them to continue to spend. And there's a couple reasons why that's so huge. Number one, this is something that players have been asking for months now, but the conversation has really come to fruition over the past couple of weeks. Like, we've really been pushing it. So this is a community-wide, majority of the community going, like, we need this to happen. So you're actually appeasing the greater masses here. By doing that, King's Group is showing a huge amount of good faith by making such a significant play like that as a gaming company. They're showing that they really care about the game itself and are wanting to move it forward. You know, that would be what we expect. And again, they're promoting people to continue to spend. You know, as a player, I'd be happy to continue buying packs if they said, hey, Daedric, you know, we're going to give you an opportunity to go into a new migration state. You know, experience the new game and have your account. You know, there's going to be a couple restrictions here and there for, you know, however long or whatever the case may be, but, you know, here you go. Welcome to the new state of survival. Hell, I'm into that. And you're going to have people who aren't. But again, even if you're looking at a $50 payment, you know, you are taking a risk by cutting some of your player base. You have to do it. When you migrate or merge, you are going to lose players. It's just a fact of the whole concept itself. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, again, you are appeasing the masses, and you're actually going to get a hell of a lot more profit out of it, because people are clearly paying right now, and will happily pay $50 to move to another state and have a great new game experience.
Well, to speak on that, you're going to lose players, and you have to go to the majority. The benefit that I would see most is that those older states, you have such high level players that they're going to be the ones that are going to jump. The others that are going to be the not so high level players that are left behind, they're inactive anyway. They are not playing the game anyway. So it's not like you're losing a lot of active players. You're going to be having the most active jumping over. And then I think someone mentioned it. You could always later in the game merge those other old states that have gotten most of the players moved out, or just kind of let them die off, which sucks and it sounds mean, but at the same time, you're keeping the game active for the people that are still active. So I agree with that. Someone had said that $50 is not a lot. It's cheap for most players who want to jump. To me, honestly, $50 is still a lot. For a free-to-play player, $50 is a lot, especially in these times. However, for most of us that do even Dolphins, $50 is not a lot. And you know, if somebody's really motivated to jump, they would save up to get that. You know, save over a month to save up to get that jump later. So yeah, there was a question that I noticed in here that was related to this that said something about migration tickets should be based on your BP rank in the state destination. Make it cheap for small players. Make it $1,000 for top players. I don't agree with that at all. That's punishing the people that are keeping the game going with their money and rewarding you for not spending in the game, which is not the concept that devs would want to go for. To be honest,
it's an easy devil's advocate. So my question to that is you go to a candy store, and you know, you pay $5 for your candy, and I'm wearing a nicer shirt than you, so I have to pay $15.
Yeah, no, I don't see that.
How, like, you know, just because I look like I have more money than you means I have to pay more? It makes no sense.
The other suggestion, the other question was, if everyone from a state wanted to move to a new state, when they enable migrations, then we will have to create a new alliance and go over all the alliance tech again and build from the ground up. From what Delete and Affinity, and I can tell you, is the alliance tech is very different in the new states. So I don't see a way of them transferring an alliance tech over. You would have to start over, but that's kind of like the price that you would pay for jumping. Like, you know, I think that's kind of maybe as a balancer out, you know, what we were saying, trying to balance out the BP or balance out the strength. That would be a good way, is to, you know, you have to build your own alliance from the bottom up. So we went over the price, and then how we would do it as far as the cap, the other, and then the risk losing the players versus the benefit of what it would do for the game. Because I know that a lot of older players are quitting. Even some on this panel have talked that we may lose. You know, Silverwolf, he's kind of done with the game, and he's in an older state. What is he, 20? He's in state 20? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in state 20. And we love Silverwolf, and he's kind of just over it. And that may be something to, and you know, he would pick it back up again and then jump for the state migration if we could all play together somewhere. So, yeah. Now, as far as the merge, do you think that would be a possibility, though? Do you think they would lean more towards migration versus merge?
Yeah, merge is just, it's too much of a stressor on the game to put that many more people to basically double the size of a state, which right now struggles for the size of the state that you have as it is. Even with light mode, there are still times when the game is like, it's going to glitch out, or it's going to start to fail.
Yeah.
You increase that when it's state merge, and it just becomes even tougher. It's the migration is probably the best way to go. Mapping it out and doing it the right way is going to be the biggest issue. I think we're definitely on to something here. There are certain people that just want to leave their state because they just want a different dynamic. Not even like go to a new state and play the new game, just go to a new state and get away from what they've got going on in their state, whether they've pissed too many people off or haven't made enough friends or whatever the case may be. People may buy it for a variety of reasons, and really kind of choose to play it just a different way, just recreate themselves in a different light.
Well,
So
and
reasons why someone would do it.
Yeah. Well, and as far as coming from a devil's advocate and not a devil's advocate, what is the word? As a business decision, as far as for the devs, a migration would make more sense money wise because they can actually make money from it. So we're asking them to do this for us because it would make our game experience better, but also you have a bonus, not just we want you to do more work so that we're happier. I feel like that's what a merge would be. We're asking for something that they have to do a lot more work for with a very little payoff for them other than just, player happiness. But this migration would do both and make them money. But it's a good point. Someone had said that, other games, why reinvent the wheel when they can see a template from another game that's doing this well and figure out how to do it and use it themselves. But like Game of War did tons of state merges with SVS. They did Kingdom versus Kingdom, which is basically SVS. And the winner takes over that state, and they merged them together, kind of thing. But I just don't know, based on what we see, like you said, with the capital lag and all that stuff, I don't know that they have the capacity to do that kind of stuff here yet. Maybe they will, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think the creation of a new state with older players would probably make the most sense. That would probably make the most sense. Is this way everyone's kind of at an even keel, and they're just starting the new game, and they just have a solid collection of high BP players and high players that have been playing for a really long time, that it could just reinvigorate their just passion for the game, because now they have to go ahead and rethink the strategies that they were doing. This used to work in the old game. It doesn't work in this one. We should be doing this one. Or, tower construction and, the different game is a completely different set of variables that makes the game exciting again, and it's what you do. And at the same time, if you're in an old state, what's the incentive to continue to spend? It's like, wait, we're already in the biggest alliance. There's no one that's really going to challenge me. Why do I really need the new heroes? Is anyone else going to buy the new heroes in this game right now? Kind of thing. If you're in an old state that's kind of dead, you give the whales a chance to continue spending. When you get them into a new portion of the game that they want to play. I think and you get them on the double whammy when they're buying the pack to kind of get to that state to begin with.
Yeah.
Everyone that's in the state that you drop into, hey, buddy up. I'm 400 million BP. Let's be friends or we're going to be enemies. And then
Yeah.
that push them to see what the limits of the game are as well. And be like, wow, I was kind of coasting here. Now I'm going to go ahead and be like, you might create a whale that way. You might create someone that just, wow, I was big fish in this little pond. Now I see what an actual big fish is. I'm going to go for it, because that is, the playing on the ego part of it is a big thing in this game, and I think, I think giving someone or progressing the revenue stream from someone that already is a spender is a very valuable asset. All because someone has a nice car doesn't mean you don't want to buy another nice car. But if you only have one dealership in your town, you don't know what another nice car looks like. You're like, oh, well, I've already got the nicest car. What do I need to buy another one?
Yeah. Well, someone mentioned create a new map, take states X and drop their active players on the new map. It's not as difficult as it seems. Is that more of a migration? That's a merge is what they're asking. Or she's just asking to create a whole new server and take then why wouldn't you just, that's a merge and then wiping out the inactives.
So that, unfortunately, to tell that person who suggested that is actually as difficult as it sounds.
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult than than you think. And to be honest, with our focus here is to make impactful suggestions that can be done relatively easy and also benefits the developers and the company. Because yes, merge sounds easy, but I know there's a lot to go in the background, right? Finn knows more about these kind of things than me. There's a lot in the background that is involved in a merge versus like a migration pass or something like that, right?
There is so I'm listening to kind of the suggestions, right? And I understand kind of what Daedric is saying, but there is always going to be a problem if you, in all honesty, allow individuals to constantly move, right? Even if you put a price tag on it, right? One person moving is going to be not extremely helpful. They'll probably, if they just move into another state, they might merge into one of the existing alliances and then just do whatever it is they're doing there. If you're moving as an entire alliance, if you're moving into an already existing state, yeah, you can try to build up and your tech probably isn't going to carry over, right? The state already has whatever it is. So you're not going to be able to migrate the tech over there. Now, from what you're saying, though, it sounds like there are large alliances in multiple states that are trying to get more competitive, right? And I think what Delete said is probably more of the direction that you would need to go, which is the creation of a new state. But rather than allowing the individual to pick the state, I think the easiest way to do this, because we see that they have a balancing system between alliances when they do things like Alliance Showdown and state versus state. Like you get these matchups that are supposed to be designed to be even, right? What you have is then the ability for an alliance to queue up to move. And if you have inactives, drop them before the move. Then you only take your active people into a new state. But it's a queue system where you get a list of all of the different alliances that want to do this queue. And you give them, maybe you give them a week where it's free. And you say, this week, we are starting this new alliance move. Alliances that want to move out of their state have this week in order to put in for the move. Get your alliance, however it is, when you queue up for it, we are going to move your alliance members to a new state. And then based on however many number queue, you then create a new state altogether. Maybe multiple states, depending on how many are there, right? Just like you're talking about, Daedric, there's a number that they're trying to hit with these states. And so if you have a bunch of alliances that are now queuing rather than the individual, for that week, they may not make money. But what you do is then you balance out the game for that week. You try to get all of the states, and then you can provide maybe a little bit at a higher cost, but maybe using biocaps instead, where different players within the alliance have to pay if they're going to do the move. And it's always an alliance move rather than an individual move. And if they really want to move, they can just leave the alliance, form their own. It's not very hard. And then you move yourself. And you let the SOS devs, based on the pending queue, move you. and not assume that it's guaranteed, right? They don't take the biocaps from you right at the beginning, but it's a pending queue system that they can then use in order to create balance. Because after that week, it's going to be chaos, right? If you just leave it open, everyone's just going to want to move, and you're going to keep on trying to move until you find like a good optimal position. And even the state cutoff can potentially be difficult, just because, I mean, I'm not, it still sounds like state, let's just say state 1 is still going to be largely different from state 240, even though they're not on the new stuff that state like 280 and ours is 359 are at. It's still going to be hard to find that balance between 1 and 240. So I think creation of the new state is probably the only way to go about this. It shouldn't be too difficult. You create a new state, and I mean, if you really want to, you can create like your own little Harry Potter of create like a decimal place if you want for state, and state 1.2 if you want to, and then allow for the actual alliances to move, start over from new. You have your settlements, and exactly right, Daedric. They can't take anything away from your settlement. People have paid for it, they've worked for it, whatever, time investment, money investment, whatever it is, they can't take that away from you. So now you make it so that it is brand new. Every alliance is there. You still get your alliance stuff. You're in your full alliances, and now you're building tech from scratch. You're reforming, you're recruiting people, and now it's almost like a fresh new state for you to play in. And to what I've heard a lot of the complaints about for those that were in like the older states, they can make the new state what you migrate to, right? As an incentive to get people to maybe even migrate even more, make it the new states that you get it. So you get the more tech and the buildings and the double HQs and all the other stuff, right? You give them the new state that they're moving in, and you will probably get, from everything I've seen, and again, you guys are more of the veterans than I am, but I've been trying to follow in like the Discord and of course watching your guys' stream. Playing in the new state seems to be one of the things that people want to do. So you allow for a queue system with alliances to move into a new state and then just reform it and just continue. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just name it an older state and just leave it, right? I mean, it might be state 400, or just leave all of the 400s or some like block of states as the transfer states. All of the 400s are transfer states, or all of the 500s, or you can go to the extremes and say all of the 900s, right? So you have all the other states kind of building in between. But you can create that separation and still allow for the people to work into the different states with their alliances. The problem always comes allowing for individuals to move into an already existing state, and the imbalance it can potentially cause for the person themselves or for whatever structure is there if they're moving for the alliance. So that would just be my thought for the solution.
Yeah, I mean, if you took Daedric and you put him in state 240, you know, at 400 million BP, and their next top player is 180, you know, it creates a tremendous imbalance, you know, and it allows a player to almost be like, well, this isn't fun either because I'm back to crushing people left and right. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you take it, if you did the whole alliance and you did like the queue setup, I think that would probably be the best thing. Or just, hey, everyone that wants to go ahead and leave this state, join this alliance. You know, and this way, you know, you have to leave your old alliance, you have to join a new alliance, and everyone that's in that alliance that's newly created for the migration is now queued into a system where, okay, this is the BP that we've got. Let's match it up as if this was a Reservoir raid, and then put the two Reservoir raid appointments into that new state. And then you kind of from there.
Do they match, and then they fill that state with however many alliances they need to make it an active, full state.
Exactly.
My question would be, how are they going to make money off of this? How are they going to make money doing that? Are we individually buying packs or buying a pass for the alliance, or like almost like buying cells to fill up a trap to make it, you know what I'm saying? Like it has to be something that would actually.
You would have to buy entry into that alliance. You would literally have to probably buy entry into that alliance that's kind of created for the migration in order to kind of like allow it to even happen. You know, or if you were taking your whole alliance or something, you know, because that's the tricky part.
That is the tricky part. We need to come up with a suggestion for that.
Let me ask that. Would you actually need to, right? So, and this is why I was saying, like the one free week to allow alliances to do it, is not just, I mean, I understand they need to make money, right? But also the longevity of the game and keeping your spenders in the game is hugely important, right? So if you have that 1 week where it's just free transfers, one-time transfer, right? But you can queue up in that week to transfer. When you end up in a new state with all these different alliances, knowing that these alliances are on par with you, right? As a potential spender, would that not be enough to incentivize you to spend, right? Not spending because that you have to in order to move through the alliance. You are now spending for pretty much the same reasons why you were spending before. It is the competitive edge, right? Getting things faster. And if you're starting off with an alliance that has nothing, everybody's going to be racing to try and get all of their buildings to all of the analysis centers. I mean, get every part of the map that they can, right? So it is going to be a race to control this new state. And they don't even have to keep the limitations like in the new states, right? They have certain parts that were like the fogged off and then they open up and then you can access it. You are all veteran players that have been playing a while. Just open up the map. Just don't put any
3, 2,
restriction.
1,
Open
go.
up the map. Yeah, it's basically just drop you in there and say, here are your 20 other alliances that you're going against. Go and just Hunger Games the thing and just let everybody compete the way that they would as if they were in their original states. But now they have more competitors on the state, right? And the incentive to spend is to beat those other alliances. Because now you actually have the competition that you maybe didn't have before, where you only had 1 or 2 alliances that you were just constantly fighting over and over again. Now you have this whole group that is unbalanced with you. And now you spend in order to actually dominate on this new state. And I would say, at least for that week, if you just let it free, right? Then afterwards, every alliance that is active will have already moved, right? So then afterwards, they can monetize it, where you miss the free transfer week. And by the way, just for people that aren't familiar with it, this is the exact model that World of Warcraft did with their
the free
first
week.
character migrations.
Yeah.
They did a free week, let everybody move. Then afterwards, it cost you money because they realized that there was dissatisfaction with players that were on overly competitive. And there was also dissatisfaction with those that were on very little competitive. And they just didn't have it. So they decided, you know what? The value of our customers being happy is important. And we see that there is this dissatisfaction. Let's give them this for 1 week, get them happy. They have other reasons to spend. But if they're late to the party, then they have to pay just like everybody else moving forward because they weren't on time. Their alliance wasn't active, whatever it is. But that's how they monetize afterwards, not in that week. But then afterwards, they can monetize because the alliance wanted to move, or maybe they made a wrong decision and they decide they want to go someplace else, or whatever the issue is. That's beyond their cutoff, and then they can monetize the moves afterwards.
Yeah, and then you've established enough states from the people that were created from the queue, where if someone moved, they could move into any one of those states after the fact for the price. So they can go, okay, this is what's going on. You missed the window. This state is everyone that's kind of on an equal level with you of everyone that moved. Now you can go ahead and wreak havoc in here, and it's established. And now it's no longer pissing off people that were about to spend or were spending in a new state where everyone was on the same level and came in at the same time. You're now coming into a set settlement basically, or alliance base that's been created, and you come in as a person that's like, well, it doesn't really affect the balance either way, because it's like, everything's already kind of been in motion. Everyone came from the same place.
So another aspect, it actually might, I don't know whether it would wreak havoc on it or actually maybe create more free-to-play satisfaction, because the big, heavy millionaire spenders that are super aggressive, super intense, would be focused on getting to one of those states that is the higher competitive rate. And they are still in their normal competitive rate. You know what I'm saying? They can stay in their normal servers, so to speak. You would have your normies, and then you would have your extreme extra players in these new states. So it could be a payoff in that way. Could be bad. I don't know.
By someone that's in your state and they move, it may reinvigorate that state to be like, all right, everyone's got a shot again. It might invigorate an old state that's close to dead into coming back again. And they're back to like, well, I don't really need to play the new game. I barely could play the old game the way that it was set up as it is. So you almost create like a battle of all the free to plays, or that might like
Dolphins. The free to plays would actually start spending maybe if they knew they had a chance to be competitive again. So,
right.
And I saw another point that said, the spending would be crazy if you put Daedric, Scorn, Silverwolf, Rod, all of these big alliances that are just uber competitive and they want fights. They want fighting, and they get into a state together. Can you imagine the spending that would go down in that state? Like, it would be insane. It probably would make up the difference, like Daedric said, between people spending $50 per jump or whatever. It probably would make up a difference. It would balance out.
That state would be cool. That state would be really cool if it was just like nothing but heavy hitters in a new state, because then it's like you've got 2 max players going at it. So then it actually really becomes everyone else that fills that rally that sets the tone.
Yeah.
So then it's no longer just one player that tips the scale. It's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That really big hand in what wins and what loses. Then the strategy becomes so much more complex.
Well, you think about like players like Daedric, and I've heard him say a couple times, he might not admit it all the time, but he gets bored. He's bored a lot of the time because he is, he's who he is. And you're playing in a state where, yes, you have a lot of competition, but you've already, made your bed in that state, so to speak. And you've made your bed, and you've got your enemies, and you've got your friends, and then you've got just, this is it. And you get kind of bored and burn out, and this is all I can do here. I can't do any more here. But in a new state, it's a whole new world opened up, and you could have like uber competitive fights with someone that's your match again, and join new alliances and make new, game choices. I think it would be cool. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Not to mention the overall added, beginning parts to the game again. Where things are like, state intel is still a thing. And, there's like different challenges that you've got to go ahead and accomplish. It just, it gets you back going. It just gets you going again, because a lot of people are waiting for that next step. And, some people saw state for state and they were just like, meh, and it was just like, it was a letdown for some people. They expected more, they wanted more, and they wanted it like, oh, we got matched up with the state and it was over in 8 hours. It was just like,
I think that was the problem, is it was fun during that first little bit of time, and then it's like, that it's going to be over and you're going to go back to your state, and I've just put all this money into it for not a permanent, thing. But this, is kind of like state v state, just on a bigger scale. I mean, that's kind of what it would work out as, but I don't know. Daedric, what do you think about all that he just brought up? Finn's suggestion.
Yeah, I'm still leaning towards, I love the creativity. I think that's the cool thing with this discussion is it is a creative, right? There's so many different options and discussions you can have around it. I'm very much set on the individual pass. It worked incredibly well with Rise of Kingdoms, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're keeping the freedom of individual choice. If you're asking people to join certain alliances in order to be added to a queue, or you're moving as an alliance, I see more freedom and more variety in the game, regardless of how you're going to have imbalance. Like you can try your hardest to have the most balanced, perfectly laid out state. At the end of the day, you are going to have imbalance. But giving people the freedom of individual choice to take this pass on their own and say, see you later, state wouldn't want to be ya, and go on their own somewhere, but giving everybody that option to do that, you can still form your alliance again. You just say, hey guys, meet me in state, whatever, and that's where everybody migrates to, given that you haven't hit the cap yet. But I find that just to be more feasible from implementation to execution. Again, you're getting revenue right away. I do like Finn's idea of potentially having a freedom period of no cost. I think that would be cool, using the concept I mentioned, but still having that tied into it. Maybe it's less time, I don't know. But the important thing for King's Group is we got to remember they're a lot smaller, and they don't, for them, the monetization, obviously, as we've seen, is very important for them. I'm just trying to tickle their fancy by, giving them an immediate revenue stream, because I know for a fact, like, I'm just going to use State 42, we're going to have at least 500 players who would leave right away. So if you give them a $50 pass, you're making 25 grand, just like that. Like 25 grand in your pocket, right? So for King's Group, if I was them, like that's an immediate no-brainer, from that perspective. And it doesn't even need to be $50. Like, again, if you're looking at the amount of money you can make off this sucker, make it $25. You're still making a ridiculous amount of cash to make this move happen. But it is important that we're leaving that freedom of individual choice. I want to move when I want to move. If I'm wanting to migrate to a state, I don't necessarily want to be in a queue. I want to go right away. Like, I'm gonna, see you later. I'm going to this state. I'm doing it today. Finn brought up a great point, going, if somebody wants to continuously move, one of the caps that they'd have to put on this is the frequency of the moves. So similar to when they do state versus state, this month is state versus state, they could have, similar to how they release bundles on a schedule, is there's actual scheduled migration. So they only sell a pass at a certain point in time. And it could be a long period. If we're talking migration, you could talk about having these passes for sale only every 3 months, because now you're still giving people the freedom of choice, but you're now forcing them to make a very good decision the first time. Otherwise, they're going to be waiting 3 months for another migration pass to buy, and they're going to have to wait that period of time. So the frequency of moves is actually capped out. You don't have the ability to just go everywhere. So for someone like me, I can't go to a state, kill everything, and then go to another state, kill everything in a matter of a couple days or a week. I am forced to put down roots.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It is. And the only reason I was saying more on the alliance move rather than the individual move, Daedric, and I don't know how your thought would come into this, so I'm kind of just probing a little bit here. If you're moving with State 42, right, you would probably want to move with some of your other alliance mates from State 42, right? But no, you would not. Okay, there might be some that do, though. You might not. There might be some others, though, that would try to want to move as an alliance, right? The individual move becomes problematic for that, because you are now moving individually, and whatever they write in the back end in order to try and figure out the algorithm, to try and balance these out or find a new state, right, is going to be written on an individual person basis. So unless every player is similar in your alliance, there is almost no way where all of a sudden you can target that I want to move with this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, right? So that's why I was thinking more on the alliance, because it is easier for King's Group to say this alliance is going to move, and an individual player can create their own alliance, right? What is it, like 200 biocaps or something like that to just create your own alliance, right? So if you want to move, you create your own alliance of one person. You still get that individual move. But now if you want to move with a group of people, you have that opportunity, right? So I'm not trying to, and I understand your point, I don't want to restrict individuals from wanting to move, but everything is kind of based on a group perspective in this game, right? It's like a state group or your alliance group. Like there's not a whole lot of individual one-on-one in a lot of scenarios. You're looking at things on an alliance perspective. That is probably how they have a lot of their math written in the background, right? Reservoir raid, like Delete was mentioning, you're trying to balance things out from an alliance perspective. So the idea would be that you create this new state, you set it based on the alliance, but if you're an alliance of one, right, they can easily figure out these are the averages of the players that are playing in. This player, alliance of one, would fit in fine here, right? Or they can figure out what the average is, find a place for them, try to hit those numbers on the states, leave a little bit of a buffer if anyone wants to do a late migration. So they can figure out some of these little details, right? Where if it's a 10,000 cap, we're only going to fill up to 8,000. There might be 2,000 more players that are going to come up later. So if they do the late migration and pay for it, we can stick them in there, but they're late to the party. That's what it's going to be. But the queue system is more so that for an individual, they're probably not going to have to wait. You can find a place where it has one spot in it, right? But how do you find if an alliance has their entire group wanting to move? How do you find a place for them, right? And so that's the reason for the queue. With your system, yeah, you don't need the queue system. Individuals should be able to move constantly. It's just that the balance is going to be based on a player rather than the group, and it does negate the possibility of moving with your alliance, which I feel like a lot of people would want. I know you don't necessarily, so it's kind of a bad example, but there might be others that I'm assuming, like McVenom and Delete in 125, if they want to move, right, they might want to move with their entire law alliance, and there needs to be some kind of way to do it. And if they base it on an individual perspective, they now have to write two different ways, right? They have to write it like an individual migration and an alliance, versus if they just do it with the alliance migration, now the individual just has to create their own alliance if they want to move and then queue up, right? And you could have the cost based on the amount of members that are there, right? That's what I was kind of thinking, like a group pot almost, where everyone just tosses in whatever. I'm just going to throw a number out. This probably isn't the right cost, but it's going to be like 500 biocaps. And if everyone in the alliance puts in 500 biocaps, you collect it. That is how much the alliance leader pays in order to get your alliance to move. They get put into the queue. When you get moved, the biocaps are gone. Until then, they just stick in there, and you're not forced to do anything. You have time to change your mind, whatever it is, right? But that was more the reason for the queue, is to keep balance, because if they start allowing too much movement, it can create imbalance for sure. And individuals cause more issues than groups, because they can find different states that have groups that maybe match up. Individuals can easily throw off the entire dynamic of a state depending on how many move and what quality a player move, right? So that was more of my thinking towards the queue, but that was only with the alliance. If they go an individual, then yeah, no queue. So
yeah, with Rise of Kingdoms, just to counteract both of us at the same time, Rise of Kingdoms had no requirement. The only thing that they have for their kingdoms is age. So regardless of your BP, regardless of how much money you spent, your power, like none of that mattered. It was actually age. So you just had to meet, you had to be playing the game for a certain amount of time. So I think it was like 90 days. You actually had to be an active member for 90 days in the game. And then you could only join kingdoms of a certain age. That was it. The only other thing you were doing was paying money. So they didn't have an alliance move option, and it was individual migration, but they actually had no cap. So alliances could still actually shift together. So your idea and my idea still applied because they had no restrictions. They only had, you had to be this active for this many days. This is the age of kingdoms that you can go into, have at it. And so that entire kingdoms were able to transfer over because they had already been playing for 90 days. They all met the requirements. So they all met up together and then formed the alliance in that new kingdom. So, they could potentially do it that way. And yes, you're going to have imbalance still, but you're now playing devil's advocate against me and you at the same time. But ironically enough, you're actually still accommodating the whole concept. You just don't have restrictions. You are now just basing it off of activity and age.
You're playing KISS, keeping it simple. Stupid. Yeah. Let's just do this.
If Daedric jumped into, randomly, I use 125 just because of whatever. Daedric came into 125 and it was just like, holy shit. Daedric's in 125. I also have the opportunity to move as well. I could just escape that. So if there is a tremendous imbalance, I could go ahead and dodge it by going and moving somewhere else myself. So I'm not necessarily, it could just basically be like, yeah, fuck this. I'm definitely not staying now. I've been burned 20 times in the last week. I'm out. So, I guess you could just port out of it in the same respect. You could buy that ticket. So
I just want to address a couple comments that I've seen here and there. Like somebody said something about Delete said 125 is basically 3 top alliances, 7 or so mid-tier alliances, and rest are nothing. Tons of states are exactly the same as that. If they merge them, it would be perfect. And I understand what he's saying is that you have states, and somebody said that the issues in 125 are overrated. That's not as bad as people say. Actually, it is. When you have one alliance taking all facilities and bunkers, the other alliances don't grow as fast. If that alliance was gone, then you have those other alliances or the other players that have kind of like said, you know what, forget it. I'm not really going to play and focus on here. I'm going to move to another state. They would actually try for those bunkers. They would try for those facilities. They would spend money in those games because they are spending money in a game that they actually can win. So it probably would reinvigorate those states. And the whole thing about it's not as bad as what you say it is, you can't say that after 2 weeks ago you said the state was dead. Like, don't say both of it, because it's obviously you're contradicting yourself there. So I really do think that some of these states, and our state is not the only one that has this problem. There's tons of states that has like a super OP alliance that take everything. Not saying they shouldn't. That's your right. But reality is that you have all these other alliances underneath that aren't getting to play in the way that they would want to play. So if you give that option for the top players, that state that has that top players that are taking all the bunkers and they're upset because they're not getting much action or fighting, they move out. All of the other lower alliances, the next top 10 are actually having some fun battling out, and they're going to reinvigorate the old states, because a lot of people might not choose to move. They might not want the new game. They might want to stay, especially if, they have more chance of winning and playing in the state that they like. So I think it would be good all around.
A lot of people in our state, especially, haven't been able to play this game.
Yeah.
So they haven't actually had the experience and the joy of actually playing for bunkers and playing
or capital, like actually trying to get capital building.
I mean, they're looking from the outside, knowing that they literally are just suiciding their troops to get points so they can grow a little bit, because there's absolutely no chance of them getting top rewards for anything.
And clarify, like, Delete's not saying that that's not right, that you shouldn't minimize yourself. I'm not saying that. He's saying that this is just how the other alliances might feel. Yeah. I think there's some confusion when we say things like this. It's not because we're telling you shouldn't play money and you should just roll over and die. That is not what we're saying. We're trying to make it balanced out for everybody to have fun.
No,
everybody wants to have fun.
That's a big thing is, you can play completely as you want. But if you play as you want, you have to play and realize what you're causing.
Yeah.
If you've got the same group of kids in your class, and you're going to be with them through high school, and you beat the crap out of them every time you see them, how many people are going to show up at your birthday party? It's not like new kids are coming in to be like, hey, he's actually pretty cool with me. No, you stay in your own little pod. And if you destroy the people that play in your pod, there's no chance for anything else to happen. So you're causing your own demise. If you find the game boring now, it's going to continue to be boring.
Yeah.
That's basically the way it is. You're progressing it being boring much faster than it needs. And that's fine. Everyone has the ability to play the way they want.
Yeah.
It's completely fine.
Absolutely.
You can't complain that it's boring when you're causing it to be boring.
The other part of that too is when the question mentioned like how Daedric or Delete was saying like there's 3 high and 7 middle and then like a bunch that aren't as competitive, right? All of that is easily replicated without having to do a merge, but doing a migration to a new state, right? All of these things are stratification stats, whether you look at Daedric's idea, my idea, the other, what was the name of the game, Daedric?
Rise of Kingdoms.
Rise of Kingdoms. So whether you look at any of these, right, they all have stats on the stratification within whatever server or state in terms of what is the power levels of all the different alliances and what is the distribution. What is the BP of all of the players and what is their distribution, right? That is what they can do with the migration, right? And that's part of the reason why I was saying a queue, because you let these people queue up for the move, stratify them into the correct state, whether it's a new state, whether you're putting them into the existing one, and you kind of find this dynamic where, this has been like the general curve of BP for the entire state. So we're going to replicate that here, but we're just going to increase the number. So instead of 3 top alliances, we're going to have 6. Instead of 7, we're going to have 14, right? That is the ultimate purpose. And so you don't have to necessarily do a merge for that. You can allow everyone to kind of move, right? And then, because again, I think Delete said it best. The problem with a merge really is if you're merging just the two states, right? And you're just creating one giant state that is two states combined and just like dropping the barrier that's between them, you're creating a whole big territory that's going to be unmanageable for anybody, right? And you're going to lose interest in trying to do that, because what a march across the state is probably going to be like a 3-hour march at that point. Like, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. So if you don't have your relocators, you're just like screwed at that point.
If you're
It's
Gare
like,
Bear, you're just out for like a year. You're just done. Like,
So-
okay, I'll see you guys next month when I get back from my march.
So it's just one of those things where if it is like a queue system with all of the alliances or individuals listed as an alliance or individuals moving or however it is, right? If you can then stratify it to create the new states, you still create that same balance that you're looking for with the merge. I don't think any of our ideas here negate that as maybe one of the base concepts that King's Group needs to make sure they don't miss out, which is just don't throw every top alliance into one state and every medium one into another one, right?
Yeah.
You need to keep it on the same level as a lot of them. That way you get that whole like state variation, but you just get it in larger numbers. So it's not just 3, it's 6, and then not 7 but 14.
Well, that gives you more dynamic to build alliances and merging alliances and creating strength in different ways, because a lot of our states are just tapped out on how many players we have active, and that can divvy up into different, like you said, if you have more, you've got more possibilities of combinations of alliances. Guys, I need to give a quick shout out to someone. Quickfire is in the chat, and he is OG Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes players. He was one of the first people I ever talked to when I started Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and he's been like just checking in with me all the time. So thank you, Quickfire. He always has been super supportive. Thank you so much.
We also got a super chat.
Yeah, I had a couple of them. I'm trying to go back and get them. So Edgar Q gave a $2 super chat. New update is trashed with a capital T. We will get to it, I promise.
It's coming.
It's coming. Edgar Q also gave $2. Can you please tell me how to kill trap level 30? We're still trying. So I don't know. Daedric.
You have to find a time machine and make trap 14 hours.
Well, and you also have to figure out how to set your damn troops now for trap.
Yeah, that doesn't make it quicker.
Yeah.
And you got to go ahead and take out that one T9 infantry that likes to get added all the time. That's a cute little. He wants to.
Do you know how to beat trap 30? Is there a secret?
Just the couple tips for you is make sure that your rally leaders are when you're changing your talent tree, your talent's focused on the attack and lethality piece, because that'll really help for trap. Having your lead hero for your rally leaders is Zoe, especially because she works really, really well for damage boost. And focusing on hunters and riders, no infantry, never should have infantry in your rallies. And always have your rally leaders as your top tier players. So the more I don't want to use the word spenders, but I'm going to use the word spenders because people who are going to be your rally leaders are generally your spenders. The more spenders you have and higher tiered players in your alliance, the better, because the more rallies you're able to launch and the more people online, like if you have 40 people online versus 60, you can get more rallies in because you have more people to fill the rallies. So, trap level 30 really is a matter of having a large amount of people online and also having as many top tier players as possible, but getting the right heroes, having your talent tree set the right way. But I encourage you to go on the Discords right now for the game, because there's a lot of great feedback on how to do certain trap levels and certain bosses. So I encourage you to get involved in the community.
Yeah. We also got another super chat from Kirsch. He's a cool guy. He said $1.99. At least credit me for my comments. I will credit you. Kirsch is the one who said something about the overrated 125 issues. And when I said that you can't say that the alliance is dead, that the state is dead, and then say that at the same time, you had another member that said the state is dead. So it wasn't you that said that, it was another of your alliance members that said it. quite frequently. So that's who I was talking about. But thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. Lots of questions. So I'm thinking let's get to the questions on the migration questions. I'll skip around and do those, and then we'll talk about the update and then go to the update questions. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way. Unless you guys have anything else while I'm getting these questions that you want to talk about with the migration.
No, that doesn't happen. You know, something needs to happen because there's too many people that are unhappy in a solid amount of core states. You know, the people that built the company are just completely left out to dry, and it's unfortunate. It should never be the people that founded your game feel this way about the game. You know, that's really unfortunate, and that needs to change. You know, any way possible to get them, you know, back going is just, you know, is throw them a bone. You know, that's all I gotta say about it.
This might be touching the whole patch concept too, but I'll just throw this out there. There's a lot of potential ideas as to how you can do this, right? And ultimately, execution is important. But to execute correctly, you really need to get good player feedback on what exactly they're looking for, right? We don't need guessing as to what players want. I know in a lot of games, sometimes it's like, oh, the spenders want to make sure they win. So let's make sure they get an easy win and you do this kind of crap, right? That's not what you need, right? You want a lot of the spenders want competition, right? That's what they're looking for in this game. This game is definitely very highly PvP. So I think it's going to be quite important that not only do you try to figure out an idea, whatever idea you choose. I mean, if you want to do the idea yourself, want to do the migration, merge, whatever it is, you can do that by yourself, but then have players give their feedback before you do implementation. Because this is pretty important to a lot of the veteran players that have been playing this game for a long time, spent a lot of money. And if you mess this up, you're probably going to either piss them off or lose them entirely, right? And that's not what this is supposed to do. This is supposed to encourage them to play more, get reinvigorated in the game, and you do not want to miss the mark on this. So, and this is a little bit harder to do in like a beta server, right? This is not beta. So it's important to whoever a group of veteran players are, you effectively create a council and tell them what your idea is and how this looks. Run through scenarios with some of these states that know like these alliances are going to move, or like Daedric said, there's like 500 people that are getting ready to move. So use state 42 as an example, where you have a bunch of people maybe individually moving, or some kind of competition, or combination of alliances versus individuals, or it's just full, like if all of 125 moves as different alliances, get that in a test scenario. Figure out this before you implement, because messing this up could be very bad for all of the spenders that are trying to give you money. So,
let alone their own company, because then they'd be investing in something that no one's going to use.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't make any sense, you know, to kind of do it any other way. You know, you have more than enough people that are willing to go ahead and give you feedback on what they want. You know, you're going to get, and just in the laws of questionnaires and people that fill things out, you're going to get crazy. You're going to get people that say everything's great, and then you kind of find the happy medium with everything in between, and you kind of focus on that path. You notice the similarities, and Daedric has brought it up many a time. The survey piece could be so beneficial to this game. It is just mind-blowing how big it could be if they decide to use it. Or you just go ahead and, I mean, this game employs so many mods, it seems. I never log in and see the same mod answering a question more than once. You know, and they're all players. You know, maybe even just if you just want to kind of even lean on them, you know, something is better than absolutely nothing. Right now, you know, and touching on the update, it just, there's a big divide on what they're working on and what people want.
Yeah.
Huge divide.
Yeah, and you did touch on the update. That's basically what we're going to talk about with the update is why it went wrong and what they could have done to prevent it from going wrong, which is what you guys were saying about listening to the players. Just listen to them. But Before we get into that, let me just read a couple questions on the migration, though. So, question from Zenith. If all of us wanted to move to a new state when they enable migrations, then we will have to create a new alliance and go over the alliance tech again and build from the ground up. Actually, we already answered this one, so good. We handled that one. Eric Bullen's question, would you be able to move all of your accounts or just the one? I would think that every account should be a purchase, to be honest. I would say that would be my, either it's in that free period or you have to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
recreate your farm.
Because otherwise people would just be like, okay, I'm just going to create a bunch of these alts to move over.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, you can only create 2 in one state, right? So they couldn't create a bunch.
Unless you're on multiple IPs.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but you also might be happy with one, right? You might not want to move your all 3, so it has to be done individually. It's going to be impossible otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people use VPNs, so they've got 3 different devices, all different locations. So they've got 20 accounts in one state.
Yeah.
This one is from Durgan. Question, Infinity: have you been able to splice a porg and human together with any success yet? Don't even answer that.
No, I have tried, and it has not worked out.
Moving on. Rubenesque, SVS matchup is not fair right now. We won easily with just one player being online. Unless they can fix that, that should be out of the question. Are they talking about migration should be out of the question unless they can fix the SVS matchup? I thought it was a fair matchup. Ours was fair.
Yeah, ours was actually, ours was...
Daedric, was yours fair?
It was solid.
No?
No. Wow.
No. We finished our state versus state in 10 hours.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Question from Kirsch, but not a question. Devs need to purge abandoned and inactive bases. There are plenty in old and new states. Well, yeah.
Yeah, people are going to try a game, not like it, and not log back in.
But what does that really do for the state, though? Like for that current activity level, just purging the inactives out. What does it do? It doesn't really, as far as our quality of game. I don't know that that's really a priority.
As long as they can track which ones are inactive, right, and they don't affect whatever stats they look at in order to determine the activity of a state, there's really no reason to remove them. All they're occupying is just 4 squares with their base, and that's it. You just leave their settlement there and ignore it, or you can attack it whenever you want. And it doesn't really affect anything, and it doesn't really give King's Group a reason to do anything, right? There needs to be some kind of tangible effect, and this one, as long as they can separate the stats, there's no reason for it.
Yeah, I actually use those as my own testing ground. I'll find someone that's just unalliance tagged in the middle of nowhere, and that's who I'll use to kind of test marches on. So
it's also a nice way to send someone all the way across the map to test attack over there, and then your troops will go there and come back on their own. You don't have to recall them from an occupy.
So, Rua's question, what if after next SVS, both states will be given the opportunity to merge? If both say yes, the loser state moves to the winning state.
It still causes a problem if you have alliances that have already claimed the territories. These alliances are going to fall into a state. How are they going to do anything? Right? It's going to be they're starting with a massive disadvantage. So why would they want to do that?
Yeah.
Chance of merging 2 losing states and 2 winning states than someone that's just hey, we just lost to these people. Let's go ahead and join states with them.
Yeah.
It does. I don't know.
Question, Affinity, if you were on the stream, who is making sure the dinosaurs don't escape? Durgan again. Durgan, shh. Rubenesque question, what about the free-to-play players or free-to-play alts? Can there be a biocap option?
I think it should be biocap related. Ultimately, but you can increase the price, so they have to pay kind of to the same thing that Daedric was mentioning, where if it's $50, it's $50 worth of biocaps that you have to use. It gives free to play at least an option, and everyone else the ability to maybe quickly do it. But
Make it $1 billion in reserves. Or construction speed ups. If they make construction speed ups, it'd be really great.
Let's see.
Just drain me. Just drain me. That's all.
Bebo, can we drive on Highway 35 during our travels and have fun new missions to do on our way between to the state migration? Question, Finity, what are your thoughts on the new update to the trees? No, we're not talking about that right now.
We'll talk about all the updates at once.
I need to ask this guy. Christine said, sorry to burst your bubble, but where did you learn not to send infantry to trap? Are you just a CC bandwagon player who brute forces everything in the game? If you want, I can send screenshot proof infantry helps. So that's a bit aggressive, dude, number one. Number two, like, I've seen a lot of people testing it, and so far I haven't seen any benefit to using infantry. Daedric, do you know anything about what?
So sorry to burst your bubble there, dude. Don't trip on your ego when you walk out the door.
For real.
But no, like, ask any top player and go into any Discord. No infantry, no infantry, no infantry. You are the first guy.
First time I've ever heard it.
The first time that someone has said put infantry in. I'm gonna share something with you. I'm just gonna quickly touch on the recent update. The recent update forced you to have infantry as your lead hero. So I'm gonna even use your infantry hero as an example. The damage was next to nothing. So if an infantry hero provides no damage as a lead rallier, what makes you think that the troop type is gonna do any different?
Well, I can tell you that someone that says something so ridiculous has now taken 3 minutes of our time. For no apparent reason. This person completely trolled.
Maybe it was a troll. Maybe it was a troll. I'm gonna assume it's a troll. Okay. On the Deadpool Kyle, on the migration merge topic, though, what I said stands. A lot of times whales tend to find competition and beating up on the little guys, not the big guys. Hopefully this game sticks through it. Yeah, I mean, yes, of course, you're going to have people that just want to be a big fish in a little pond. But I think on the whole, somebody that's spending a lot of money in this game and they like competitive play, they want competitive play. Like they want, don't want to be bored, and then they also want to have a chance to win. So I don't know. I see what you're saying, Deadpool Cool, but I think the majority of players wouldn't be that way. The ones that would actually move and migrate would be wanting to find a more competitive level, I think.
The truth is, if the big guys wanted to take out the little guys, they could take them out entirely and leave them with nothing, right? So the competition is not with the little guys in this game anyways. It's actually with the other people where there's actual competition. Other ones just running over and you'll be bored afterwards. Because they won't even bother, right? What's the point in always losing to your top alliance? You're just going to do nothing, and you're going to get bored, and everyone's going to quit in the smaller one. That's not this game is a little different in how the dynamics are, right? It's never just the top powers that are trying to take over the entire thing. It's just specific.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna address this Chris guy. I don't even want to get into that. It's like that's just okay. So. Update. First off, let me show you a meme. I have a meme.
Is it a meme of Chris being an Allen?
Wow, Chris, you watch episode 1 through whatever we're on now. You perhaps gain any semblance of knowledge about this, unless you're taking what we're talking about now and putting it into a game that doesn't exist. It's the only way that what you're talking about makes any sense whatsoever. I appreciate you tuning in, though.
Yeah, he's on State of Survival LSD edition.
Seriously.
So this is the meme. It's boys. I sent this into the IC chat so you can see which one is in there. Finn, who was this posted by again?
It was Belgium Warrior, I believe.
Belgium Warrior posted this, and we thought it was hilarious.
Belgium Warrior.
We gotta go back. Go back to 1.8. We messed it all up.
You fucked up everything.
It's all our fault. I think it's funny.
That's classic.
So, anyway, so the new update. So I think I've seen there's actually a couple people in our alliance in law on 125 that said that they liked the update. There's just a few things they didn't like about it, but in general, I feel like it was a bad update. I feel like they took a lot of the suggestions that we all made that we've been making for a while now, and they didn't completely listen. They took a vague idea of it and then said, oh, well, you know what would be cool? I think we should do this, this, and this, and we're going to change all of this, and not really listen to what we were saying we wanted. So they took something that was a basic idea of a simple change or just a tweak, a quality of life change that would help, and then they just went a completely different way with it that made it worse, made the function that we already had worse instead of better. And I don't understand how that's happening. And I was talking to Finn earlier about it. I think there's something in the translation, or they're not completely listening to it. Maybe they're just jotting down ideas and brainstorming them later without actually playing and figuring out how that would be implemented in, or they're not, as Finn said, and we've talked about it over and over again, get yourself a player base. I don't care if it's 10 people. I don't care if it's 100 people. Get some players that play this game every damn day and ask them, what do you think about this idea? What do you think if we changed it to look like this? And use them. Get them to sign an NDA. I don't care. Every game has players that has signed NDAs all the time, and they, use them as a sounding board for how this is going to be taken by the whole player base. And that's what they need to do. They really need to do this really badly. And I think at one point they were going to do it. They even asked us for some names because they wanted to put together a server and really get some players down. And we gave them names and all this stuff, and nothing. We haven't heard anything. Like, I think there's been some back dealings and stuff going on, but I know that they haven't used that because obviously we have updates like this. So that's my rant. I'm sorry. I was a little bit upset about it, but I was just upset because there's so much knowledge from all of the players. Like, you could take anybody that's watching the stream right now, except for maybe Chris, and we would really be able to help in the game and help with showing you what we want as players. And it's just, they're not listening. They're not taking that knowledge. Like, we're offering it for free. You could have it. Help us to help you, and we'll do it. But they're just not using us. They're not utilizing the best knowledge that they have. So that's my rant. Guys, what do y'all think about it?
I feel like they tried to build a skyscraper and they designed it in inches, and then they sent it off into a place that basically only designs things in metric. So when all the pieces arrived, it was all wonky. Like, none of it makes sense. Even just how the auto picking of the heroes doesn't even make sense. I'm like, wow, okay, so it's now Miho, Zoe, and Jeb. My
serious question is, do the devs not play the game? That is a serious, legit question. Because if you don't play your own game, there is no way that you would play this update and say, this works. This is legit. I think they're going to love that. If you play this game, there is no way that you let that roll out and not know that it's bullshit, to be honest. Yeah. There's no way.
Making you tap an extra thing to actually change a part of the game that you need to change on a constant basis doesn't make any sense either. I mean, it was, and to do it right before facilities and bunkers where it's like, first hit is like a big thing. It was just like, okay, so now, all right, click, another click, scroll, click, then another click, and then you're back to square one, and you're like, oh, and then it's like, okay, wait, I've already saved this formation. Now I'm drag down box, scroll, click, and then push, and it didn't account for the fact that I have Mega March on right now. And it was just like, why is this? None of this is working. None of it actually worked at all. The fact that it was a T9 troop, one T9 infantry, just one soldier out of everything to be a part of your march for no apparent reason didn't make any sense. It really did seem like they gave someone an order and they were just like, hey man, just figure it out. Let me just like make this look cooler. And then they were like, yeah, we'll make it look cooler. And they were like, oh yeah, none of this actually works, but it looks so much better now. And it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. It did not make any sense at all.
I need to do a shout out. Bean donated $3. I think it was a fist bump to Finn when Finn was talking to his suggestion about getting a team of players together to really have as a consultant team. Thank you so much, Bean. And also to Edgar Q. Devs got drunk with all money made in the SVS. Maybe they were sitting around drunk and just like, you know what we should do? We should screw up the March just for kicks and watch Daedric and delete and score and rant about it.
Go ahead.
Do
Go ahead
it.
and make this all wonky.
So my question, so Finn figured something out that me and him were playing around with a little right before the stream. Because I can't figure out how to, I don't know if maybe I'm just not playing around with it correctly, but I can't figure out, you can't replace your starting hero, right? Your first hero, you can't pick it. Is that correct?
So Saberlot, very recently, because the pressure was so huge after the update, they did a revert. So an update was just released last night, which can be downloaded today if you have not done so already, that made changes to the March, and you can now select your starting hero captain again. So they did implement some immediate changes. The market stall was brought back because they took it away. Market stall was put back in the game. The market stall was where you could trade resources and bio caps for material. But Saber was getting so much pressure that he actually made an announcement saying, you know, we appreciate all the feedback, blah, blah, blah. You know, these are he laid out 3 options of this is what we can potentially do. And we'll get it done ASAP. So they did an emergency update, actually twice. They did it twice last night and reverted some of the changes because, you know, obviously people were that irate about it. You know, I'm looking at the Reservoir League. Very exciting.
Way through.
Do you want to talk about, you know, something that we've been talking about, a league? Reservoir League looks really exciting. Now, here's the not okay part. When you open it, I don't know who does the English or who does the grammar or who does any of that stuff. It was like reading a kindergarten paper.
Oh my gosh.
The amount of, like, and I'm actually serious, like some people go, oh, you know, you misspelled the word. No, if you read the whole document of Reservoir League, I cannot understand half the stuff that's being talked about because the grammar and spelling is so bad. None of it makes sense. Like it really doesn't. It's actually that bad. So somebody is not actually proofreading. So instead of using the word used, the word sued is in there. So the whole sentence, when you read it, has a completely different meaning because of one word. But it's the whole document. The whole Reservoir League, when you read it, has errors just left and right, and you can't understand any of it. That's a huge problem. When you're releasing a brand new program like Reservoir League, first time we've ever seen it, and we've been asking for a league system, and you release something with kindergarten level spelling and grammar, I have a serious problem with that. Because number one, that shows you don't care. Number two, nobody proofread it. Number three, you know, is somebody actually going through the work? Like when we're talking, even the update itself, is the work being proofed? Clearly not. I'd be happy, you know what, if King's Group said, hey, Daedric, I'm going to send you this Microsoft document. Can you proofread it? I would voluntarily and for free do that for you. Is somebody doing that, right? Like, are you actually getting a player to proofread or another dev or another, you know, game company member to proofread your work? It's the same concept with the update, the market stall being removed. Not a single person has ever asked to have the market stall removed, ever.
Mm-mm.
So why was it removed? because now the daily deals store that was supposed to replace it was paid. You have to pay. Whereas the market stall, you had the ability to trade resources. So free-to-play players had access to materials. Well, now the takeaway of the market stall and implementing daily deals is now pay to win only. You've completely cut out free-to-play. You know, you want to talk about the trees and the update to the map. Like I talk about prioritize and execute. When you're making a business decision in anything, you prioritize and execute. What should you be doing compared to what you want to do? What's actually going to impact the game today based off of what you need? There's talk that in 2 to 3 months from now, we're going to see 3 new legendary heroes in Plasma 4 and 5. The last thing we need right now is 3 more legendary heroes in Plasma 4 and 5.
Yeah.
It just, right? Like it's prioritizing and executing. Like I get that it needs to be introduced at some point in time, but it doesn't need to be 3 months from now. It can be on your list, but it should be 8 months from now. Like we're talking state migration right now. That takes precedence over any project that's going on right now in the game. You want people to even have the ability to want Plasma 4 and 5 and need the 3 new legendary heroes. Migration. Because I can tell you right now, you're going to get a hell of a lot more people who are willing to buy that stuff if they're given what's actually needed in the game right now, right? So again, just going back to the update, there's a lack of player feedback, which Finn mentioned. I think all of us have mentioned it. There's very little of that, but it bothers me again that specifically that Reservoir League when it's a kindergarten paper. That's what I'm reading.
And it left out a lot of information that is key to it. It really didn't explain. I read it 3 times and I still am like, trying to figure it out. And there's so much information missing to really grasp what they're doing with it. It was bothersome because it is something like you said, we were all excited for that. You had mentioned the league. You wanted the league.
Yeah, I mean, they took everyone's basically favorite event in the game and they tried to make it better, and they made it they just trounced it. They just trounced it because the idea of a league would be extremely cool. But the fact that they just went ahead and just pushed it out so quickly because they thought there was like, we just have to do this right now. And it's got to go with this update. That's everything else is all wonky too. So let's go ahead and introduce something else that's really wonky on top of it. Just because, maybe they not notice that everything's wonky and just be like, this is just it. It just didn't make any damn sense. None of this makes sense. From a business standpoint, from I own this company and this is exactly where I want it to be, to this is what the players want. Nothing, not one box was checked at all in this. The only thing
that should have come out of this update was the Reservoir League.
That's it. I think if they'd have focused, you know what, Daedric, you're right on the money with that. If they would take a patch or an update and really drill down to 1 or 2 things that they want to make a big dramatic thing change, focus on that. Devote your whole team into, like you said, getting the verbiage right, getting all of the information out there perfectly, testing it appropriately, not trying to do like, I'm changing the trees, I'm changing the market stall, I'm doing the reservoir rate, I'm changing the damn marches, I'm changing everything because we're going to go all crazy on this thing. Why not just take a couple of things so you can really focus your manpower in making it right? And then your next update, you do another good release. I feel like you hit the nail on the head right there because I feel like they're trying to do too much all at once and doing it poorly. So then no matter how well your intentions were, it's not going to be received well. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And even when you use the term optimization, because they use that word a lot, let's all be real here. The word optimization, they use more than any other word in an update. The actual definition of an optimization is the improvement in process. When you optimize something, you are improving efficiency you're improving process, and that can have a whole bunch of variables to it. It could be a cost saver, it could be you have more production because of the optimization, it's more labor effective. Like, there's a whole bunch of different impacts to it. But when you optimize something, and they use that term a lot, are you optimizing it because you think it's an optimization? Right? It's when you do an optimization, the optimization is called an optimization because you've had feedback. You have consulted. You have, that optimization being pushed is an optimization. Why? Because you don't need to change it. When you optimize something, you only get better from there. You don't go backwards. When you go backwards from an update, that's not an optimization. That's we blank.
We messed up. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the thing with it is, we talk about it every stream, and I always cross my fingers. I hope a dev watches the stream, and I say that to myself every single time before the stream begins, even if they're not in the stream at the time and they watch it after the fact. The player feedback and free advice we give is gold. It's a gold mine, and we talk about that all the time. We're all smart people in this panel. A lot of the people in the chat are smart people, with the exception of Chris. There's we've got a lot to offer. We've got a lot to offer to the game, but we're also passionate about it. We've built a community, and we continue to drive these conversations. And Finn, with the background he has, and all the other people we brought in the stream, provide some really solid, from whether it's a coding thing or an algorithm thing or a feasibility or whatever the case may be.
Just a gamer, longtime gamer.
Yeah, we game competitively as a hobby, and we do it for hours a week. And Venom, you hit the nail on the head, going, do the developers actually play this game? If the answer is no, and even if the answer is yes, but if the answer is no, that right away means you should be having player feedback.
Yeah.
If you're not playing the game and you're not soliciting player feedback, you're not going to have a game for very long.
Yeah.
Period.
It's you don't have to do something like, in order to to be a good teacher, you don't have to be someone that's like excellent at doing it. You could just be just a good teacher, or just a good designer, and you don't necessarily have to look the best wearing it, or whatever the case may be. But you do have to have the right people around you instructing you on how to do things the right way. And it just seems like the team that kind of puts these things together it's like everyone's just like, oh man, where are you with that update? Oh, I'm almost done with it. I'm so close. I didn't even have a chance to check it, but I'm really under the gun. Like there's the reason for this update just didn't make any sense, and no one was calling for it. Even if you just put an update out where you're just like, hey, here are the new skins, here's the new events, here's the new thing, just different pictures, that would have been better than altering the game in a negative light, because you just piss off your base, and it doesn't make sense at all.
So
nothing about this made any sense.
So my thing, and like our motto is, we don't just bitch, we bitch with a solution. So our solution would be, for, let's say you wanted to look at the March. We as developers, you want to clean this up or do something different to it. The ideal scenario would be either, number one, have your group of players that you talk to about what would be your optimization for the marching, sending troops out. Number two, before you decide to do it or before you tweak it or implement it, send out a survey. What do you dislike about the march? What functionality would you like added to the march? What would you like taken away? What is the most important functionality for you as a player in the march setup? Is it being able to choose? Is it being able to do it quickly? Is it having formations? Just putting out a survey. Bring that information back, then start to work on it. Then release it out and test it and do all that stuff. I don't feel like they did it. I feel like they did it backwards. They put it out there, and then they're going to listen to the feedback and then make changes later. That seems to me like an awful lot of work when you don't,
Yeah.
It seems like an awful lot of work.
or the like Apple and Google do not like emergency, patch fixes, because in order for you to put out a patch to Apple and Google, you have to basically go through testing, and they've got to go ahead and okay it, to make sure that it's okay, and they're just not going to take a ton of refund requests because of your update, because they don't want to deal with that either. They don't want to go ahead and say wow, your game really just caused our customer service center to increase 10% extra calls because you guys didn't check your update. So I know that this is definitely being punished on both sides, the player side and the go ahead and the people that manage on that side as well. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, personally, I think it would probably be easier if they just went to a percentage-based March. As opposed to a sliding scale. Go ahead. I want 50% infantry. I want 25% hunters, and I want 25% riders. Making that would be easier than what they just did.
Yeah.
That would be a simpler fix to anything. And then you can kind of rig it where, people actually don't want to send full marches. Then, you just go ahead and eliminate that problem, by making it percentage based. Or making it a percentage of your total March period. Say I'm only going to send 10% of my March, or equalize is now actually, okay, here's 10% of your total army, or something along those lines. Make that simpler. Do that, then do what you just did.
So, Daedric, I have a question. You said with the update, and I just tried it. You said with the update that they just patched it and that you can choose your first hero. I still can't.
I can't.
So if you check the mail that came in game, it said that they were going to do that in 1.9.2. And I checked my Google Play, it's still 1.9.1. So I don't know if it's maybe iOS that got the push and Android.
I know I'm iOS. I don't have it.
Yeah. So you have to check the version. I'm in 1.9.1 still.
I'm still in 1.9.1.
I cannot find 9.2 at all. I cannot find that.
Let me check App Store
Update
again.
is coming.
It's probably coming. Yeah.
So I misunderstood then. I thought you meant that it had already patched that. They already patched that with the last one. Okay, so that'll be coming.
It's still broken in game. They just haven't. They're working on it.
So frustrating. So we found out that you can, if you had preset formations before the last patch, that you can still use those. But for some reason, my formations were all off because I did something with Showdown and whatever. But so okay. So Chris is, saying that we're picking on him and stuff. Dude, you came at us sideways first. The whole sorry to burst your bubble, but where did you learn not to send infantry? Are you just credit card bandwagon play? Dude, you come at us with disrespect and you're going to get a little bit back. So don't cry in the stream about us banging on you, because everybody in chat is mostly respectful and we're respectful. I'm sorry, Delete. I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you start talking crazy, you're going to get treated like a crazy.
Yeah. So,
and no disrespect to people that have mental issues. I mean, that's a sad state of affairs.
So they must be a small company and not have play testers, really. They can just do updates, wait for player feedback on it, and patch it. It's free and much more widespread. Beta testing done as update. So they do. I don't know that they're a small company. I don't think they're a very large one, but they do have beta testing. We've been in the beta testing. So I'm just not sure that they beta test on every small update or small things that they're working on. They do the beta testing on the big things. But I do think that they should have, as we said earlier, we do think they should have a small group of players that they have at least counsel with. Maybe do some, give them a couple of servers to play around with, a couple of accounts to beta test and give them feedback. But I don't know where they're at with that. I'm sure they're I'm hoping after this, I want to leave it on a good note. I really hope that this kind of opens up their eyes a little bit. I know that we've had some disaster updates before, but I do think they want to make the game better. I just don't know that they know exactly how to implement things as well as they should. But we're hoping that the more that we do streams like this and we're telling them, listen, you have to listen to us. We know what we're talking. We know what we want. That maybe they'll start picking up on that and start using our information more, because I do think that, I told Finn this earlier, I do think that they want to make it better. This is one of the few games that I've seen, and we said this as well, I don't feel like I feel like the prices are worth what we pay. I think the money value in the in-game, it's one of the few games that I've never felt gypped for what I pay for, which is very beneficial in a game. So it's a great game, and I think they're trying. I don't feel like they're money grabbing too much, and I know people might disagree. I don't know if you guys disagree, but I don't feel like it's a huge money grabby game. I feel like it's all worth what you pay for, and you get the value out of it. So if they can just get the updates and all these small little things that we want taken care of, if they can learn how to implement them better, I really do think this is a great game. It could be so great.
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah.
Great. I think they just need to concentrate. It just seems like they've got multiple teams. You know, like this team's handling this, this team's handling this, and this team's handling this, and those teams don't talk to each other at all. You know, and the head isn't really leading them in any way whatsoever, because it just seems like one team fixes something, another team creates something, and then the third team is trying to fix both. And then it just keeps going around in a circle, and nothing really kind of like, you know, gets hardcore fixed. The foundation of this game is tremendous. You know, it's enough to get the fan base that we have. Their progression from, you know, growing basically a state a day at this point has so much positive. And I feel like if it was just fine-tuned to the point where it was like, okay, let's just take an extra minute here to figure out what we're doing, then it would be great. But if they just bypass that final check, you know, it really does seem like they just bypass critical points in all of their updates that just, you know, like, man, you know, why would you do that? You know, some head scratching things, you know, and I get it. You know, games are going to do what games are going to do. You know, they want to progress a game in their respect, and it's not my company. And if they really wanted to do that, that's fine. But, you know, have solid reasoning behind it. We changed the marches this way because of this. You know, if you literally asked anyone at the company why they changed the marches for this, I cannot even imagine, I've been thinking about it a lot today, why they would do it. You know, it does not make the game smoother. It adds extra, you know, basically just extra screens that you have to download that will basically make it all clunky, you know, and will actually take more server power away from it. You know, there's added steps that don't make it quicker. There's absolutely no way that it makes sense. And even they even changed the algorithm that seemed to be actually functioning okay. You know, the autofill, if you literally had just stepped into the game for the first time and you had all the heroes in the old patch or in the old game, if you just sent, you know, okay, March.
It autofilled, yeah.
Autofill, you know, like heroes actually made sense. You know, it actually was like you weren't like penalized by not knowing the game by just pushing the button. This, if you actually don't know the game and you just push the button, you will absolutely get destroyed.
That's a good point.
Could be an angle. Maybe they just want you to lose troops, so this way you have to train them. But, you know, they've never been that cash hungry.
That's my thing. I even said to Finn, I was like, why would they do it where you can't pick the heroes, that they preset the heroes for you, unless they're trying to make you buy new heroes that are going to be filled in later for those presets. But I was like, I don't see them being that money grabby. They haven't so far to that extent, so I don't see that happening. My only reasoning could be is that whoever is making these changes does not really play the game, or they're not listening to people that play the game.
Right.
That's the biggest fix for it, in my opinion. Daedric, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wrote something down. It's really cool. It's any team I've been on for a business project or just in the workforce, I've implemented this. There's 4 people you should always have on your team, and these aren't actual positions. These are just things you should have on your team, or things that people bring to the table. You should always have an artist. You should always have an architect. You should always have an engineer, and you should always have quality control. And it goes in that order. Your artist is the creative vision. Your architect takes that concept and puts it into design. Your engineer takes that design and puts it into physical construction. And then you have your quality control, which proofs it, audits it, and execute an implementation. My question to the developers, and just something for them to think about, do you have those 4 people on your team? And if you do, are they being used properly in that proper order? And if you don't have those people on your team, that's something to think about. And, you know, it's, you know, we can talk about the game a lot. You know, I always like to approach these streams and these conversations with what's going on in their heads and how are they communicating with each other. You know, they potentially could have a wrong person on their team. And I'm actually serious about that. If you have a developer group and there's one developer who's dragging you down, that potentially, you know, that as a player, I'm then looking at all the devs and going, wow, you know, this is not a great team. They could actually have a really solid team at Kings Group, but there could be 1 or 2 people that we're at the expense of with all these updates, right? So just my little tidbit there is really just looking at that and going, you know, from a Kings Group perspective is do we have the right people doing the right stuff, and are they competent at it?
I think that's
Right now, I would absolutely say no. You know, it's clear that, like, right now, it seems like the artist is definitely taking control. You know, the quality control person is definitely not there. And the person, basically the engineer is completely, you know, just dumbfounded because he's trying to do so much and the quality control person isn't catching any of his mistakes and it's still going out to market. You know, it really is a conundrum that's just really tough to fathom the decisions that they're making for their business. You know, not even just for like our gameplay sake, it's for their business. You know, it's a huge letdown. You know, and if they ever really took a solid look at this, it would really be, you know, it would be a Harvard business study on how to go ahead and have something popular and ruin it, because it's becoming like an issue. You know, like a big issue where it's just like, this doesn't make sense. You're pissing people off, but yet you continue to piss people off and you continue to go back on what you think is right consistently because so many people are getting pissed off. And you're like, now the public is actually controlling your company before you are. So if that's the case, then you really should be relying on the public to decide on what you should do.
In the beginning versus,
right.
Yeah. Agreed. So, Savvy Investments just said $20,000 spent, ready to quit over this one update. This is what you should be listening to. This is what you should be seeing, not people in Discord ranting and screaming. But when you have a spender, like a strong investing player, saying this is not, I'm going to take my thousands of dollars elsewhere. If you have players doing that obviously enjoyed the game and they're taking $20,000 investments and saying, I'm done, then you need to look at your team and you need to figure out where there is a missing factor or where, like as Daedric said, where there's somebody not doing what they need to do. And another person that I love in the stream right now that just mentioned something is Teddy from Savagery Gaming. I love her content. If you haven't checked her out, go check her out. She's got very good content. She's one of my favorite YouTube content creators for SOS. She said devs should have their own team of testers to literally test the game before they release it to a player beta state servers. So this is what Daedric was going back to as far as fail safes, where you have what did you call it? Your 4 tiers. What was the fourth one?
And in this order, you have your artist, you have your architect, you have your engineer, and then your quality control.
So you have, yes, so that goes to the quality control. Have a team that tests within your team, that's their job, as they test. Then you put it out. Then you find out what your players can figure out that's wrong with it too. You know, like you have 2 fail safes of testing, because, you know, some people are going to miss things and some people aren't going to look at it from the same perspective as they are. But that's a very good point. You should have some systems in place of testing these things before they come out, because I swear to gosh, if you play this damn game and you do that march and you tested that march, you know it wasn't good. So why put it out?
And I could see like, all right, like just from a business perspective, maybe if you sent it out to testers and they were just like, you know what, it's going to take too long to go ahead and implement this onto a test server that's not set up. We've got to go ahead and do that. Then it's another step. Then things don't transfer over. It's a big issue. But anyone that was in that beta test server, it's already set up, could tell you within 15 minutes that this was an absolute travesty.
Yeah.
It would not take long for effective feedback to hit their ears if they were listening whatsoever. It'd be completely fine. I mean, it's just completely taken aback by like game mechanics and battle mechanics being changed. This was bad. On top of the fact, and someone actually mentioned in chat, the skin was there, taken away.
Yeah.
That
was awful. That was awful.
Bad. Unfortunately, for everyone in my state, I did get the skin, and I love it. It's the Halloween skin, and it's one of my favorites. I've always wanted it. I was lucky enough to get it, and they have not taken it away. But
they're going to take it away now. Now they're going to watch this, and they're going to take it away.
They're not. They said that they're not. The people that were able to take advantage were able to take advantage. Unlike other things that I will not mention because our stream is not designed to go ahead and point fingers, but there are a lot of people that were just like, dude, come on. You can't do that. You can't make it available to some and not make it available to all. Yeah. Because some really wanted to go ahead and buy it for that. You know? But when I got it, it wasn't like it was a picture of the settlement skin. It was technically a picture of the March skin. And it just happened to actually, when it appeared in my inventory, it was a settlement skin. And that's where the big hang up is. When you clicked on it, it was really just a picture of the March. It was not a picture of the settlement. So when I got it, it was just like, whoa, okay. I'll take that because it wasn't in my Marches. And I go, I was ready to put in like a customer service ticket saying I didn't get my March. And then I looked at my
skin. I
Yeah.
won't say a word.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but that was bad. It was bad all the way around. How do you confuse the two? Where's the quality control issue again with that? That's and that's a big advantage. I gained a big advantage on my state because of that.
Well, that's just it too, right? Is talking quality control. There's a huge difference between the Halloween skin and the March skin. They're two completely different items. So when the person, so the artist did the artist thing, the architect did the architect thing, and then the engineer and the quality control guy, something happened. Something happened there, right? And it didn't go through. And best business practice. If I was King's Group, I'd say, you know what? This is our mistake. We're going to eat the mistake. Go ahead. You know what, guys? We want you to enjoy, this. I would actually still have sent out a system mail and say, we intended on putting out the Halloween March skin. We'll do that next event. We would like everyone to take advantage and enjoy our mistake. And, like that in good faith, the amount of buy-in and your approval rating as a game skyrockets when you do stuff like that. You make a mistake, you own it, and you let people take advantage of it. And even if it was a case of, let's say, even if they still took it away, giving people the option to buy the skins outright, because they actually just did a survey recently on would you purchase skins? So, and I got the skin too. And so when the reset came, people actually thought that survey had turned real. And they were actually selling skins because of the survey. That's what I thought. Going, wow, they're actually selling skins now because people did the survey and the feedback was great. So now they're selling skins. And then it was obviously the March. But, again, that customer service piece of when you send in a ticket and the response is pretty much, sucks to suck too bad. There should just be that ownership. And if you can own the mistake and just buy into the community and let them take advantage of it, because we had that situation. What was the other one where the Hero Gear bundle, where they mistakenly put 27,000 pieces of Hero Gear in, and then they took it away.
yanked it.
You can't actually do that. I paid for a product. That's the product I get, right? And there's this whole conversation about terms and service. Well, I can tell you right now that you cannot take something away once it's been purchased unless the person has hacked. There's dishonest behavior, something of that nature. But be accountable to that mistake. And if I have a product that's advertised as such, as a player and a customer, that's what I expect.
So there was another good comment. I think Bean said it was that the testing is so important, like that QC part, the testing before you release it to even beta or to your testing players to check it out, is that none of these things that they did in the update were super priority time sensitive things that we needed right now. We would have been much happier to get these things in a month correctly, or updates correctly done, than you rushing them out and fixing them and creating animosity and distrust, because you really want to trust your devs and your company that you are investing money into, that they are doing things proactively to make it better for you. And when you lose that trust, every update is going to be some backlash, no matter how good it is. You're just going to have that. So we would have much rather you taken the time to get it right, or check, listen, talk
Even
to
on
people.
The devs, they paid for something that they didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
The people that work for them worked on something that they did not need to go ahead and implement into the game, because no one was complaining about it.
Yeah, waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources, all of that for the company.
Yeah, and just kind of burned relationships with people that are in game.
Yeah. They could have took all of the update stuff and actually focused it into resource trading in the marketplace between players. Like actually make the marketplace what we really wanted it to function as. What we actually asked for originally, instead of changing them all together into something completely different. Like you could have took all of that, put it into that. And I'm telling you what, you want to make a happy update. That's all one thing, you put that out there and boom, everybody's just like shits and giggles happy.
So,
or maybe
in your settlement, you have that little guy that walks around with the question mark, and you click on it and you get a question that you have to answer. What is the function of the trading post is one of the questions. And the answer to the question is to trade resources between chiefs. Well, guess what we can't do?
So yes, that would have been ideal. Instead of doing the updates that we didn't ask for and tweaking things and making things worse, take what we have asked for and then really take a month, 2 months to fix that and make it perfect and release it out. And you're talking about a happy player base. That's all we wanted. That's a small, and I don't think that's a really heavy thing, like code wise. Is that a heavy thing to ask for, that one? I would think this March thing is so much more work than that would be, but I don't know. Anywho, do you guys have anything else to add? I'll get to some questions.
Yeah. Last thing, just with the Water League, I think it's great that they implemented it. Keep it. But I think they need to take it down just for a couple days and proof it, because, like I mentioned, it's a travesty how it's written.
Yeah, just get some players to read it and say, number one, ask them what questions they have about it, and they're going to fire 20 questions that I don't understand this, or tell you what information they're lacking from it. Rewrite it and get a proofreader. That would be the solution for it.
Yeah.
I'm available if they're looking to outsource.
That was going to be one of my suggestions too. One of these quick suggestions: hire one of these guys. Hire somebody on the dev team as a consultant. I don't care what way. If you need a QC person, there you go. Delete Daedric right there. Get one of these guys to get on the payroll if you have to. But they're honestly, you don't even have to. They're willing to do it for free. They're willing to do it for free in the beginning.
If you buy my cats their wet food as payment, if you provide me Friskies wet food, then we're good.
I mean, look at all the people saying, I volunteer, I volunteer. They're all volunteering as tribute. So
Yeah.
just come to the stream, look at who you see in there that's got some good insight, that knows the game, that's been playing for a while, any one of these guys, and just say, hey, can you come and talk with some of the devs? 2 or 3 of the devs. Talk to us. Talk to us. That's all you have to do.
I mean, I even think they did the beta test the wrong way. You know, they shouldn't have been transferring my account into a test server. They should have been giving me an account that was already maxed in the test server. I should have been logging in with their password and username and just getting a base that was already set up.
Well, that's honestly, it didn't make any sense how they implemented that, because Finn and I have played where we were server testers in a couple games, right, Finn? And they've always given you an account. They've given you an account to play and test out.
Right.
And then they also gave you goals. Like I noticed in the beta, there wasn't like a whole lot of goals. They would actually give you a written out format of, we want you to try this, do this, use this feature, tell us what you think about it, tell us what's wrong, screenshot any bugs, any anything, ideas that you have, and then submit that on a different format. They would provide you with the format to submit it on. So there's a way to make this beta testing work, but you need to ask people that know how to do it. You can't just say, we're going to throw this beta thing out there and then gather a bunch of Discord people and say, hey, here's the beta. Here, everybody's open. Come join it. That's not how you do a beta testing server. If you want to do a beta testing server, get people that know how to do one and ask their advice to implement it.
Yeah, it was literally like, okay, sign in. All right, there's an issue. Write a letter. Go ahead and sign in again. Okay, still the issue. Write another letter. Then get in there. Okay, then wait 24 hours for mail. So this way you would get like extra frags to rank up all the heroes that weren't released yet. And then it was like, okay, wait 24 hours because they're not ranked up enough to really do anything yet. And then wait another 24 hours for another mail. And then it was just like, what are we doing? It was like a 10-day,
there wasn't
that really didn't actually let you do anything. It actually created a dead state on a test server because so many people were just like, you know, there was
no direction.
Yeah.
There was no guidance as to, okay, you're in this beta test, because I feel like they got a lot of randoms that they probably shouldn't have had in there. They should have narrowed it down to a more precise amount of player base. But they just threw you in there and they didn't give direction on what we are asking you to test. What we are asking you to test, what mechanics do we feel need to be tested. They didn't give you any direction at all. So there was no guidance. So it was pointless to me, honestly. I just feel like it was just a way for people to take screenshots and then have rumors about what was coming. That's really all it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've done a lot of ranting tonight.
It's not bad.
You know what? At the end of the day, we're the filters, because if we left it up to the people in Discord, this would be a very impolite stream.
Oh my gosh.
Tough to be a mod.
Yeah. I even told AF earlier, I was like, it's gonna be a little rough tonight. We're gonna be some rantiness over the update. But I do have to say I'm very proud of us and the people in the stream watching. There's no like craziness, like crazy hate, like constant bashing. We disagree because we're passionate about it, but we always offer like a way to improve it or how you can fix what just happened. I think that's our redeeming factor here, is that we always give a suggestion or offer aid and help to make it better. Savagery. What?
Yeah.
Unless you're Chris Allen.
Yeah. He didn't even bring a cheese plate.
Yeah.
So, Savagery Gaming, Teddy just said, on the brighter side, let's rejoice a little. At least we have the market stall back. And hopefully we'll get the March back in good order. We'll see if we do. I'm not sure. I'm remaining hopeful, though. Let me get Nightbot back up. Oh, my gosh. What did I do with it? Here we go.
Did we mention Edgar Q yet, by the way?
Oh, thank you. No, sorry. I did. We had some super chats.
You're going to get the double mention, Edgar Q.
Oh, sorry. I'm drinking rum and coke right now. It's going to be a fun after party. Edgar Q, $2. 3 months from now, King's kid goes to college.
Yep.
3 months from
Yep.
now.
I think he's got enough to go to college for the next 30 years.
Edgar Q, $2. Send me Chris's cords and I'll send him all my infantry.
Wow.
That was gold.
Now, Chris, let me know when you pass trap level 15.
Yeah.
It's a big step. It's only uphill from there, friend.
Edgar Q, $2. Shout out to King and Silver, S20 for life. Oh, King and Silver. I think King was in the chat. Did I see him in the chat earlier? Silver is not. We're going to try to suck Silver back in, but, you know, I don't know. You guys send him some love. Tell him to come back on the stream next week. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think that's all the chat things. Let me see if we have any more questions that came up.
If somebody donates $5, I'll do a rusty kick.
Woo! Woo! Someone do it. Someone do it. I haven't seen a rusty kick in a while. Can I make him...
$4.99 counts as well.
Let's see. Where are we at? Yeah, question was from Kirsch. Why screw up the troop selection on attack troop send? I think we beat that one to death. Question Rubenesque. Could you give a shout out to the mod community for facing the humongous backlash, the personal threats, the insult, and so much more due to this bad update? Amen. I really can't stress enough to you guys. Don't abuse the mods. They're just regular people, players, just doing their best. They're giving responses as they're told to give. They sometimes know as much information as you are. They're just trying to monitor the chaos. And it is bananas. Finn actually joined the SOS Discord server today, was it, Finn? And he was like, holy cow, I can't. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they're so mean to the mods there. And I feel so bad for them. And we know a couple of the mods, and they're nice, sweet people. They're just players. So just chill out on the mods. They're doing the best they can.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, you know, people being keyboard warriors, and just because they're behind a screen and you know, no one's there to physically respond to them or verbally respond to them, they have the ego and the power to think they can just abuse people. And you know, the sad part about it, guys, none of it's personal. The mods are moderators. They do not work for King's Group. They are players. Remember that. They are players. So at the end of the day, you know, you're like, there should never be a personal attack on anyone. It's just not called for.
So yeah. So we just got a bunch of donations. We had Colossus donated, Delete donated, $5 do it. We had Aaron Knight, abuse away, do it, people. And Tids of Fury, Finn, you need to smile, eat a Twinkie. So Daedric needs to do a kick. Finn's not open a Twinkie, and I think we should make Delete do a kick as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and drink.
You're gonna drink. That's what you're gonna do. Hold on now, Daedric. Hold on. Let me get this screen set up. I'm gonna pin you.
Yeah, seriously.
You're gonna pin me.
Let me see if it worked. Did it work?
What?
Yeah, it did. It mostly worked.
Some better than mine. He's got more space.
Okay, no. I'm gonna go get a cat and do a rusty kick. Hold on.
Okay. This should be interesting.
It's got to be Pikachu. Pikachu's. I feel like Pikachu's the only one he can catch these days.
Well, he's the
tough.
favorite. Christine donated $5. Better be a good impression, or I'm going to be disappointed. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, all of you guys that donated. That's awesome.
Hey, and it's literally it's all fun and games. We're just.
It is, man. It is. Everybody knows it's fun and games here. Don't kick the cat. Please don't kick the cat. Okay.
See, Pikachu told you.
Okay. You need a pair of sunglasses. We need to get you all geared up with like a fake gun and everything.
Totally. To send Daedric a fake
Okay.
beard.
We're ready.
He's like, what is going on, man?
You've done so many things to me. Yes.
I need another one. I didn't see that one as well. Do it again. Do it with your left leg.
Wow. I love it.
Do a left leg kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kick him, man.
So, you know what would be funny? If somebody could take a picture of Rusty and Photoshop in Pikachu when he's doing a kick. And we'll put that
on stream. They should be able to do that fairly easily.
So Finn's redoing our whole stream setup for us, like our skin and everything. We'll put like a little Rusty on the side holding Pikachu. Would be funny. Oh, he's going to do another one.
Love it. I fucking love it.
Maybe he's going to come.
He absolutely hates me now.
I bet he does. You were just bouncing all over the place with him.
I think we should change the name of the stream to Cat Kick Vid, and it'll skyrocket. Google catchwords would just completely send this.
Oh, hey, delete! I got a great idea.
Do it. What's up?
Okay, this will require training. You ready?
Yeah.
Next stream, for every $5 donation that Venom gets in the chat, somebody can ask us to do one of the animations from any of the heroes in the hero list.
Game on. Game.
They can pick.
on.
They can pick what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Finn, let's make sure we have the new skins and all that stuff ready for the next one.
If you pick Niho, I have to go to the black market and buy smoke grenades.
I've got the actually I could probably do the Ernie smash pretty good. I've got some things that happen.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Someone wants to drop that. That's tough.
Will you wear Tony's yellow Crocs? I want some yellow Crocs. To be honest, I kind of do really want some yellow Crocs. Can you, let's see, question, which one of you complained about market stall? Bebo asked us. I think I had complained about it. Did you guys complain about it?
Nope.
No, well, I'm talking about the new market stuff.
Oh, yeah, I mentioned that it completely takes away the ability for free-to-play to have access to materials.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a better deal, I mean, they could just put that in the regular daily deal. They didn't have to take a building for it.
Bean said, poor Venom stuck with the girls. I'm going to cosplay as Chef. I get down with the dudes, man. I'm good with it.
Oh.
Chef.
Yeah, I think I'd be a good chef. Just get some barbecue stains on my shirt and
Did you a couple bagels? Oh, that'll get you going.
I could do it. Let's see. Question to Daedric. How did you change your first hero? I did the update, but I'm unable to change the first hero. So we clarified that it's coming. Ruben S. said there's an established PTR server with mods, some players, and some content creators. They should really utilize it. I bet they need to polish the list of players. I'm not sure, can't confirm or deny that, but I would agree if that is so. Let's see. Question day, where is my cat? That was from Defender.
I just showed you the cat.
Yeah, I think that was before you got the cat. And then Sweet Addict, my favorite question now is I want the 12-inch pizza. Sweet Addict, she's on our server in 359. Okay, so guys, I'm going to show you guys the last code now.
Without very good. Very good job. It didn't have to prompt you to do it.
I know. I'm getting
completely took over.
And I'm slightly buzzed too. Like I'm doing pretty well right now. Okay.
Said that I've actually said anything wrong yet, so I'm not drinking fast enough apparently.
Okay, so here's the first one was delete. Here's your first code was delete 1000 bio and 2 advanced searches. So all of you guys that missed it in the beginning, make sure you get that redeemed. And then the second code is, why is that not working right? I did something to it, but you can see the code is scorn. 1,000 bios and 2 advanced searches, guys. So
The only person who doesn't get the map is Chris.
I wonder why what did I do?
Chris, the code for you to type in is Allen, Allen.
Or infantry.
Yes, or infantry. The infantry will give you a trap boost for infantry next time you play trap.
Yeah, it'll go from 0 to 0.01.
All right. So the 2 codes are scorn and delete, guys. So there's 2,000 bio caps and 4 advanced search maps for you guys. Please redeem them yourselves. Don't post them in chats and stuff. We're trying to get people to come and watch the stream. We worked really hard to get those out to you guys, and we don't want them, before you get a chance to get back and redeem them, we don't want them all used up. You know, once they get posted in a Discord server, they're gone, spread like wildfire. But guys, do you have anything else to add before we wrap it up? It is 11:30.
Yeah.
We went
VC
2.5 hours. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Fury said might want to spell it, since hardly anyone seems to be able to spell infantry anymore. So scorn. I think everybody's got scorn, but I'll put it in the chat too, just to be sure. Actually, I just had it up on screen. You guys are fine. You'll be fine. Yeah, we're gonna actually join the. Do you guys want to do VC afterwards for a bit?
I'll be on.
I gotta run.
Okay, but we'll join you guys in a bit. Daedric, anything else to say? Delete. Finn.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys' feedback. If you're a dev, please listen to us and hit us up if you have any questions. Hire one of these guys if you want, but just ask us for help. We want to help. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next Friday at 9 p.m. So until then, happy hunting.
Rock on, Alan.